Hello everyone, and thank you very much for dialing into this webinar to introduce the Marine Pioneer Programme and the great amounts of work that have been done by a whole host of amazing collaborators and partners that have worked on the Pioneer for the last 3 years. And my name is Aisling Lannon. I work at the MMO, and I have had the pleasure of being the Marine Pioneer Program Lead for these 3 years. So I'm going to take you a little bit through what we were asked to do in the Pioneer, who asked us and why, and I'm going to talk about the things that we have done and the reasons we've done those things and the kind of interesting outputs and recommendations that have come from that. Let me just get my slide moving here. Why won't this move on? There we go. So the Marine Pioneer was set up in March 2017 for 3 years. So we're very nearly at the end of a really great program. Let me just move this down here so I can see what I'm doing. So we're very nearly at the end of a really great program for developing all of these ideas, conducting action research, reporting results on various topics, and sharing knowledge and improving the state of nature. So today I will talk a little bit about why we have done this work, what we have done, how we've been doing it, and who in the Pioneer has been involved, and let you know what you can learn about and engage with through the webinar series, but also with the products that we are going to be sharing once the Pioneer is completed. Based on what has been delivered through the program over the last 3 years, I'll highlight some of the really important messages and recommendations, but by no means all. And I really encourage you to listen in to the entire webinar series or to choose the webinars that are important to the topics you're interested in, and then perhaps to follow up with some of the reports or other types of material that can highlight the work that has been done. So we're only just beginning to be at the time when we can start to evaluate the impact of the Pioneer, because it takes quite a while to see impact, but that is also a crucial part of this type of approach to developing knowledge. So that part of the work will continue on beyond the end of March, beyond the end of the Pioneer, so that we will be able to use that information to inform our future endeavors, both around programs that might be similar to this, but also within the delivery of policy and within the development of methods and approaches for doing this type of work. So any feedback you have is very valuable. So why do we have the Pioneers in the first place? Well, what happened was in 2011, the government endorsed a huge program of assessing the UK's ecosystems, and that was called the National Ecosystem Assessment. And that big assessment produced a lot of knowledge and a lot of ideas that made people think that actually we're not valuing nature the way we should be, and we are not including it in our decision making, and that it means that nature is being affected detrimentally. So in 2011, the government produced the Natural Environment White Paper, which was about securing the value of nature. And then they began to set up a group of experts from around the UK that could talk about the state of the environment. In particular, the Natural Capital Committee were concerned with highlighting the value of natural capital. They've produced a series of reports, and that series of reports and the work of the Natural Capital Committee led to a recommendation by them that they set up a much longer term plan for improving and restoring the environment, which has become the 25-year environment plan published in January 2018. What does the 25-year environment plan tell us? Well, the biggest part is that the ambitions of the government are much greater than they were previously in relation to the environment. So a big ambition is to get more people to recognize the very important role that nature plays in our existence, for our health, for our wealth, and for our prosperity. And to be clear that our health, well-being, and prosperity is reliant on the health of the environment. So we need really healthy air, water, soil, the sea, oceans, animals, and plants. And that it is really important that alongside this consideration of how that contributes to our to humankind, that we also appreciate the non-monetary value of nature, that is its beauty, its aesthetics, and how much it brings to our culture and our state of mind. So the 25-year environment plan is explaining that from now on, we need to consider the health of nature in our decision making about our society, our economy, and how we live and work. And that in order to do that across government in a systematic way, we need every department working together to deliver the 25-year environment plan. And the 25-year environment plan has been published just after both the industrial and the clean growth strategies. And the three together are talking about how we move into the future by appreciating and taking care of nature. And essentially that our ultimate vision is to give the environment to the next generation in a better state than we got it. Now, these are really, really big ambitions. And so the policies that we require to deliver to be able to realize these ambitions are about using and managing land sustainably, recovering nature and enhancing the beauty of the landscapes, connecting people with nature to improve health and well-being, increasing resource efficiency and reducing pollution and waste. And the one that's really important for certainly us and lots of you is that we will have green, productive and clean, productive and biologically diverse seas. And of course that we contribute as global citizens to protecting and improving the global environment. A really important part of the 25-year environment plan is the section on how we will achieve these very big ambitions and deliver these objectives. And that's about everybody playing a role and all of us getting involved. And a crucial part of it, certainly for us, from my point of view as the MMO, is about behavioral and institutional change. So that's being clear that it's not just about individual actions, but it's also about our governance and how we make decisions across society, the kind of culture we set up to enable us to make those decisions. And the plan is really very much about working closely with a large range of stakeholders, much larger than maybe we have in the past. So being really inclusive and transparent, and strengthening leadership and delivery through better local planning, more effective partnerships, and learning from the 4 pioneer projects. So the 4 pioneer projects were named in the 25-year environment plan as the method by which we would start learning through partnership about how to deliver these big ambitions. It also mentions strong governance and accountability, which we know is something that we need to work on. Certainly, it is something that has become really important within the Pioneer and something we've talked a lot about. To achieve the ambition, we need a robust delivery framework, and I think we're still working on that and trying to figure out exactly how best to deliver all of this, so to connect the ambitions and the objectives with how we make that happen, and that we do need comprehensive and reliable data and methods. The 25-year environment plan also speaks a lot about the natural capital approach and exploring how to use that. And that was something that the Pioneer was asked to do. So something that you will hear a lot about through the webinar series. And as I mentioned before, all the government departments working together to deliver a range of strategies that are interlinked. So what was the aim of the 4 Pioneer projects? Well, they were set up by DEFRA to examine various different scenarios around England that would instruct us and help us to do as good a job as we can of delivering this over 25 years. What they were asked to do is to test new tools and methods as part of applying a natural capital approach in practice. So that's really, really trying it, testing it, piloting it, doing it for real, because to date it is more of a theory than an actual practice. To demonstrate a joined up integrated approach to planning and delivery, and that's an acknowledgement that we need to do better as a system to connect up the work we're doing to achieve similar and shared objectives, because at the moment things can sometimes negate each other if different people are doing different things at different times. To pioneer and scale up the use of new funding opportunities, that's an acknowledgement that actually to reach this ambition we need a lot more investment and funding. And then to look at how we grow our understanding of what works, sharing lessons and best practice. So these are the 4 things that the Pioneer was asked to do in March 2017. And the locations that we have been working on are in North Devon, with the map here on the left-hand side, and in Suffolk, with the map on the right-hand side. So in North Devon, we looked very much right out to the offshore and in quite a rural but touristic location that has a good fishing industry, that has a number of towns and villages on the coast, and it's a huge amount of recreation, and is adjacent, of course, to the very busy Bristol Channel. And then in Suffolk, we were focused a bit more on estuaries and the coastal environment, and I'll tell you a bit more about that in a little while. So the MMO was leading the program, but in these 2 locations, we had existing partnerships hosting project officers. So in Suffolk, the Suffolk Coast and Heaths Area of Outstanding Natural Beauty Partnership, and in North Devon, the UNESCO Biosphere Partnership. And the project managers who were operating within those locations coordinated the 2 steering groups and engaged with stakeholder groups in both those locations. So we were given not much more than these 4 objectives by DEFRA, the 25-year Environment Plan team in DEFRA, at the beginning of the program. And so the first thing we did was sit down and figure out what it is that we all wanted to achieve. So locally, what were our ambitions, and collectively, what were our shared objectives. So we agreed that we would be testing the natural capital approach, but we talked about this very great need to understand value and stewardship and how to ensure that those 2 things become central to marine management. We really wanted to do that integrated planning and delivery by really focusing on how you use a system approach. We wanted to ensure that their local environmental priorities were front and center and linked to those national objectives. We wanted to develop some investment plans because of that need to inject extra investment into into managing the environment, to do that restoring and improving. We're hoping to learn about new practices and disciplines and to be able to share that knowledge. We want to get more organizations collaborating, and that has been a really interesting part of the Pioneer, and to explore those interesting finance opportunities, those innovative opportunities with funding, and to share the lessons and overall to contribute to delivery of the 25-year Environment Plan. Who has been involved? Well, as I mentioned, the MMO is leading the program, and the 2 project officers in Suffolk and North Devon were overseeing and coordinating steering groups. On the left here, you see that the Suffolk steering group was made up of Coastal Partnerships East, the East Suffolk Council, the Eastern IFCA, the Environment Agency, the MMO, the National Trust, Natural England, the RSPB, the AONB, and the Water Management Alliance. While in North Devon, the steering group is made up of the Blue Marine Foundation, the Devon and Severn IFCA, the MMO, Natural England, a group of academics under the academic project SWEEP, and the UNESCO Biosphere, and WWF. Within these two locations, there were stakeholder groups that we engaged with regularly. And within the government structures, we engaged regularly with DEFRA and also the DEFRA agencies. And we were reporting back up through the DEFRA structure to the Environment Committee, to ministers. So after an initial period of spending time together and figuring out exactly what we wanted to do, what our aims and objectives are, what projects everybody was intending to do, what resources they were bringing, we developed this overview of what the Pioneer was doing to trial the delivery of the 25-year environment plan. And it has essentially 5 parts. So starting on the left-hand side here, we did a lot of gathering supporting information that was very much based on natural capital asset and risk registers, but also hugely on information about value and benefits. We were looking at different types of tools and decision support, and working with decision makers to see what useful contributions we could make there. And there was a great amount of work done by WWF and also Coastal Partnerships East and Suffolk on opportunities for applying funding models. We also wanted to demonstrate the approach to the themes that are important to all of us, such as natural flood defense, fisheries management, marine protected area management, coastal resilience, net gain, and blue growth. And what we wanted to develop really was a local version of how you might deliver the 25-year environment plan that would include a vision, governance structure, the environmental priorities, all the different projects that might be required, a plan and a list of tools, the investment plan for the funding, a very transparent and open financial trust facility, and then a good amount of evaluation and feedback that would allow us to iterate, adapt, be flexible, and improve. These 3 things were really built on the collaboration of all the partners, the stakeholders, the experts, and a whole range of important citizens who got involved as well. And while everybody brought their experience and their knowledge, we felt that together actually we could build on that by exchanging, building capacity, and sharing. And I think that is one of the really positive things that has come out of the Pioneer, is that we have all been enriched in understanding each other's perspective and objectives and beginning to share delivery towards those. So in very basic terms, the Pioneer outputs are these: a natural capital asset and risk register and geodatabase for North Devon, an analysis of Suffolk saltmarsh assets and benefits using science and participatory workshops for Suffolk, a marine natural capital decision support guidance report on how to use sustainability appraisal to assess natural capital state, an analysis of opportunities for co-management of fisheries, fisheries research and management plans for North Devon for stocks of particular interest, a marine natural capital plan for North Devon, an analysis of spend on marine management and MPAs in North Devon, potential funding mechanisms for marine management, information about those, a business case for a blue impact fund, which is really quite exciting, and that would be a national blue impact fund, an MPA management toolkit, an MPA management effectiveness assessment, a local marine governance analysis, and a project which worked on increasing coastal resilience in communities affected by flooding, and also some great guidance on participatory mapping. So that's deliberative participation techniques. So these are really the headline outputs. There are actually other outputs, all of which are accessible via the Marine Pioneer websites for Suffolk, which is located on the AONB website, and for North Devon, which is located on the Biosphere website. And also some of this information is available on the WWF's UK Seas project website and the SWEEP academic website. So I'd like to tell you a little bit now about the learning and the recommendations that have come out of this work. So we've learned a lot about co-designing, co-delivering, and collaborating on actions to recover the marine environment. For example, the fisheries plans and fisheries science and management partnerships are all about co-management of local fish stocks and the local fishing opportunities. We have a good understanding now of what well-managed MPAs look like and how to use whole site management and good governance to achieve better outcomes for MPAs. We understand much better how you use the broad range of environmental, social, and economic values to influence decisions, and that's shown in the work that SWEEP have done. We also have increased our understanding of creating and using just transition to deal with changing coastlines and social equity within communities whose coastlines are changing. We've also really tested and learned so much about how you apply a natural capital approach and just how important that is for biodiversity, for climate, and for achieving healthy biodiverse seas. We have worked with a lot of government organizations to get a better understanding of integrated planning and delivery and how we might be able to improve that by using better governance. We also have been very lucky to have a great amount of information gathered together and explored about how we can blend public and private funding to build the resources for recovering nature. We also have increased our own capacity, capability, and skill to implement all of these recommendations. And we now are wanting to share our learning and knowledge and help other people increase their skills so that they can think and innovate and deliver, augment, evolve, and catalyze the positive impacts which the Pioneer has set in motion. And we know this will take time and will take time to see the impact of that. But we have found that working together is kind of it is greater than the sum of us all working separately, that actually we can, if we invest that time, we can actually achieve more in the long term. So I'd like to tell you about the webinar series. There are going to be another 8 webinars. I think I'm missing one off this list, but I'll figure out which one it is. So on March 24th at 10 a.m, there'll be the Fisheries Research and Management webinar given by the Blue Marine Foundation and Eastern IFCA. And all of these webinars will be recorded and available for people to listen to. And you'll be able to access them online. On the 26th at 2 p.m, we will hear from the WWF about management of MPAs and crucially about sustainable finance. On the 27th at 10 a.m, we'll hear about governance for integrated planning and delivery from Rachel Holtby, who has been doing a PhD project on this topic with stakeholders in North Devon and Suffolk. On March 31st, we will hear from Chrissy Ingle, the North Devon Project Officer, on the development and publication of the first Marine Natural Capital Plan for England. On April 1st, we'll hear about coastal community resilience from Fernanda Balata at the New Economics Foundation, who's been working with communities in Suffolk and with the Water Management Alliance to talk about coastal flooding and ways to adapt and mitigate for that. On the 2nd, we will hear about applying a marine natural capital approach to decision making using sustainability appraisal. And also on the 2nd, we will hear about applying a marine natural capital approach to salt marsh restoration. I'm trying to think about what's the one that's missing, but maybe it'll come back to me. Okay, and also I would like to point out, as I've mentioned before, that all of this information is held online already. So at these links, you will find out about the things I've mentioned and more. So in North Devon, there have been a range of stakeholder workshops and workshop reports and other information gathered into various different documents and formats. So accessing the North Devon Biosphere Marine Pioneer site will present you with lots of really good information. Likewise in Suffolk, there's a really nice navigable web page that provides all of the information about the Suffolk Marine Pioneer in a nice logical way and has links to all of the reports and recommendations. The SWEEP Natural Capital work is available on their website. The WWF's work on MPAs and funding is available on the UKC's project website. The fisheries work is also accessible at the Biosphere website, but is full information is provided by the Devon and Severn IFCA and also the Blue Marine Foundation. The Coastal Community Resilience work is available on the New Economics Foundation website. And I have come to the end of my talk today. This was a really brief introduction to the Marine Pioneer, but what I hope you have gotten from it is a taster, an understanding of what you can delve into and learn from the Pioneer. We will be producing a final interactive PDF that will be online at both the Devon and Suffolk websites that will show you the top recommendations, that the top learning that we have, but also the long list of recommendations for each of these topics. And we'll also provide all of the links to all of the relevant information. And we will let you all know once that is available online. Thank you all very much for listening. And please do get in touch if you have any questions with the Biosphere or the AONB or me, Aisling Lannon, at the Marine Management Organisation. Thank you all for listening.